Part 113. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 1121. Chapter 1121. Mo Bao agrees. And Mo Bao also agreed. Sunian and Mo Bao. Especially calligraphy. Now Mo Bao really can't control himself. He really wants to swear now. What does this father mean by what he means? What does it mean that he agrees with it, but he clearly does not agree with it? Now Mo Bao really feels more and more that his father is not a good person. Out process out and, what kind of evil did I commit in my last life? No, it should be said, what evil did you commit in your last life? Why did you get involved with this, Dad? Sunian almost laughed at this guy. Li Baikan, you are a grown man after all. Do you really find it interesting as a man to say such things? But Li Baikan didn't care at all. I'm not lying to you, Mo Bao really agreed to this. Then tell me how my Mo Bao agreed. Li Baikan lowered his head when he heard this, held Mo Bao's little hand, and then held Mo Bao's little hand and pressed on the keyboard. Press it out, I really volunteered, and I will obediently follow my father's plan. Sunian. Mo Bao. Especially calligraphy. Mo Bao really doesn't know what to say now. This dad is really awesome. Now Mo Bao really doesn't know about his previous life. Hey, forget it, this is life. Even though the eyes of Sunian and Mo Bao were burning. But Li Baikan was very calm. Look, Mo Bao is willing to do it. I am willing to take a plane. How did Li Baikan see that Mo Bao was willing? His father is really unreliable. No wonder some people say that as long as a father takes care of his children, he will be fine alive. I used to really think that these words were used to describe those unreliable fathers. Li Baikan is definitely not that kind of person, but now I prove that I really thought too much. Li Baikan. Li Baikan also knew that he couldn't go too far. If it's really too much, then you may really have to sleep in the study room. Then he put the child on the ground. I was just kidding. Really I was kidding. I am a biological father. How could I be too cruel to my son? When Mo Bao heard this, he sneered in his heart. When the father said this, he really didn't have any so-called guilty conscience, and he just put him on the ground directly. There was no reason for hesitation at all. Isn't this a slap in the face? Don't think that I don't know, you're just trying to scare your son. And I'm serious about discussing your son's affairs with you. I'm not lying. Is your attitude really good? I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Don't worry, I will do it seriously. Li Baikan also knew that enough was enough, so he quickly admitted his mistake. Sunian sneered. Then Li Baikan sat down obediently in his seat and began to make plans seriously. Li Baikan became serious after he started. So I did it very slowly. A joke is a joke. But this plan is related to Mo Bao's life, so Li Baikan must be more serious. Even Li Baikan felt that this was the most difficult project he had ever done. There are many things to consider. Consider whether the calligraphy will be tiring, and whether the calligraphy will be unhappy when learning these. What if the calligraphy is unhappy and becomes tired of learning? So these concerns made Li Baikan's brows furrowed tightly. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 1122. Chapter 1122. The chairman also hates going to work. Li Baikan still hasn't appeared during this period. Li Baikan didn't care. After all, it would be better for him to spend more time with his son. Li Baikan even felt that he should focus on his family from now on. After all, nothing could be better than his family. But Li Baikan was happy. Li Jianhong was not happy. Although some documents have been handed over to Lee Baiken for processing, they are still tired. Retirement life is simply not more comfortable than before. But Lee Ji-eunhong also knew that this was a critical time, and he didn't know what Huo Linyuan wanted to do, so he couldn't help it even if he felt uncomfortable. Lee Ji-eunhong finished presiding over a meeting and ran downstairs to drink coffee. Hey, although he is getting older, he really likes the life of young people. Even Lee Ji-eunhong thinks that he is older than that brat Lee Baiken, and that Lee Baiken has a bad temper. What's so good about work? With so much work, you still have to enjoy life a little in the end. Because the coffee shop is just downstairs of the company. The people who come and go are almost from the company. Some people even ran away when they saw Lee Ji-eunhong here. Be as afraid as you are. Lee Ji-eunhong was not interested in having the cafe to himself. When he saw countless people turning around and leaving, he stopped them. Don't leave. The face of the person being stopped is as ugly as possible. Chairman, what do you want from me? Lee Ji-eunhong trembled all over when he saw the speaker, just like a cat seeing a mouse. I'm just here to drink coffee. You don't have to be so scared. If you are so scared, I really think I am a tiger. Of course, people who can enter the Lee family are not simple people. When they heard this, they immediately reacted and said directly, Chairman, you misunderstood. I really don't have such an idea. You don't worry, I really don't have such thoughts, I'm just a little corporate. Do you have a job or a company? The man bowed his head directly after hearing this. Lee Ji-eunhong smiled, okay, I just said that I am not a tiger, and I don't eat people. The way you look like this really makes me feel that I am telling lies. I am just like you, I've been working for a little too long, let's take a rest here. Perhaps it was the smile on Lee Ji-eunhong's face that made the people standing feel a little better. At this moment, Lee Ji-eunhong spoke, actually, it should be me who disturbs your peace. When I come, you don't dare to come. After hearing this, the man immediately apologized, no, it's really not your fault, it's my fault. I really have a job, a lot of work. Don't misunderstand me. I really don't want it misunderstand. It's my fault, so I'll take it and shoulder my responsibilities. What's the point? After all, if a man is unwilling to take his own responsibilities, then he's not a man at all. Well, just help me tell the people in the company that you don't have to pay for coffee here today. I have taken everyone's place and I will apologize to everyone. When the man heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. Chairman, seriously, is this really the case? Lee Ji-eunhong frowned, would I, a chairman, lie to you about such a trivial matter? The man quickly shook his head and left immediately. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 1123. Chapter 1123. There are no coincidences in this world. Lee Ji-eunhong saw the man leaving in a hurry and shook his head helplessly. Why? This child is not stable at all. This kid did it, and he almost felt like he was not a good person. Lee Ji-eunhong feels that he is very close to the people. Basically no heirs. Just when Lee Ji-eunhong was about to finish drinking and leave, a voice rang out, Director Lee, it turns out you were drinking coffee here. I looked for you several times. Lee Ji-eunhong looked along the sound. I was still a little surprised when I saw the speaker. The reason why this is so is because the speaker is Sun Ying-er's father, Sun Zhuang. Generally with Sun Zhuang's status, Lee Ji-eunhong wouldn't want to talk to him at all. But the relationship between Sun Ying-er and her daughter-in-law, you should give some face to some extent. Mr. Sun, what do you want from me? Sun Zhuang walked up to Li Jianhong and sat down. What can I do? I just came up to see you. After all, my daughter and your daughter-in-law have such a good relationship. I think those of us who are the elders should also move around. Well, move around. What you said is good. I think so too. I like your daughter very much. I'm even a little grateful that your daughter can become a good friend of my family's Nian Nian. You may not know that my family's Nian Nian has a bit of a temper. So soft, so I never have many friends. He is a bit soft-tempered. When Sun Zhuang heard this, he almost lost his temper. Is Sunian still soft-tempered? If Sunian is still soft-tempered, then there will be no soft-tempered women in this world. Although I was complaining in my heart, on the surface, I still wanted to. Yes, my Ying'er's temperament is also a bit soft. Maybe it's because the two of them are soft-tempered, so they can play together. In fact, I was a little worried that the two of them would suffer, but it's okay now, and it proves that my worries were in vain. Li Jianhong seemed to have opened up his chat box all of a sudden. Hey, I'm also worried. As for Huo Linyuan, that nasty thing makes me feel troublesome whenever I encounter it. I'm really worried that my family, Nian Nian, will suffer from this guy. But what did you say? There's no so-called loss at all. Eve. Instead, Huo Lin suffered a loss. I was really shocked, but thinking about it carefully, how could my daughter-in-law be an ordinary person? Now I really feel that my son has taken a big advantage. If I hadn't acted quickly, he would never have had such a good wife in his dreams, absolutely not. Li Jianhong, who started talking, was really eloquent. Well, it's not a coincidence that Sun Zhuang came to see Li Jianhong. It is true that Li Jianhong's attitude towards him must be enthusiastic. But in the current situation, it is really a bit too enthusiastic, really too enthusiastic. Even Sun Zhuang was a little overwhelmed. It's really a bit overwhelming. Of course Li Jianhong died on purpose. You must know that Li Jianhong is Li Baikan's father. If his son is so strong, how can his father be too weak? Judging from the current appearance of Sun Village, it is definitely not a coincidence that this guy appears here. Furthermore, Li Jianhong has been in the world for so long, but he never believes that there are any coincidences in this world. Everything can basically be said to be prepared. This Sun Zhuang, he was curious about what he wanted to do. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 1124. Chapter 1124, Trouble. Then, Sun Zhuang couldn't find a point to interrupt at all. This is really as embarrassing as it gets. But there is no way, this Sun Zhuang is such a soft-spoken person. Sun Zhuang was obviously dissatisfied with this situation, so he said, our two families are so good that they are almost one family now. To tell you the truth, I really regard Sunian as my daughter, which is really good. You must know that Li Jianhong has experienced many so-called ups and downs in his life. Have already seen through almost everything that needs to be seen through. Sun Zhuang is just putting on a show. So now that the showman Sun Zhuang is praising Sunian, he is really unhappy. Humph, his precious daughter-in-law is something anyone can praise. But even so, keep smiling. Dr. Li, what do you mean by this? Do you mean to look down on us? If you really look down on us, then just say directly, I am. Li Jianhong raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. What does this guy want? Is it a moral kidnapping? If this is the case, then Li Jianhong really wants to laugh. After all, he is already so old, yet someone would actually use this trick against him. It's really a bit long-lived. It feels like we have seen each other for a long time. So after saying this in Sun Zhuang, Li Jianhong didn't speak. The scene fell into a Very strange silence, as quiet as you want. Sun Zhuang is not a fool, of course he feels it. Sun Zhuang knew Li Jianhong's abilities and how big the gap between the Sun family and the Li family was. But being big is one thing, but after all, Sun Zhuang is also a person and has a lot of rights. In addition, he is also such an old age, so it is really uncomfortable to be treated so coldly. Super uncomfortable kind. But is there any way, no matter how uncomfortable you are, you have to control your emotions? Why don't you speak, Director Li? I know that I am not very good at talking, so if I really say something, then you don't blame me. Li Jianhong laughed when he heard this. Ha ha ha, what is our relationship? What is the relationship between my daughter-in-law and your daughter? If you tell me this, you are really out of touch, and you are still very embarrassed out of sight. Do we really need to be so polite? As soon as Li Jianhong said this, the atmosphere at the scene became better. But whether this is good or not is obviously in the hands of Li Jianhong. Let Li Jianhong do the hard work. Sun Zhuang felt that he could not continue like this. If he continued like this, Sun Zhuang would really feel like a fool who was being played casually. Such a situation is very meaningless. So Sun Zhuang said, by the way, I have something to ask you, Dong Li He. I know there are some things I shouldn't ask, but I'm really worried these days, really worried. Director Li, if you really don't want to hear it, then don't say it. Li Jianhong laughed in his heart when he heard this. How could such a scheming person compare with himself? If it weren't for the good relationship between his families Nian Nian and Sun Ying'er, then such a person would never appear in front of him. It can even be said that he is completely unqualified. Although Li Jianhong thought this in his heart, he still said on the surface, don't be so polite. What kind of relationship do we have? If you just say that, then our relationship is really a bit alienated. Then everyone in my family will talk about me. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 1125. Chapter 1125. Sun Zhuang originally prepared a lot of words. But when he heard this, he subconsciously said, Dong Li, what do you mean by this? Doesn't your daughter-in-law take you seriously? Li Jianhong really doesn't know what to say now. How could Sun Zhuang give birth to a daughter like Sun Ying'er? Li Jianhong even had some doubts about whether Sun Ying'er was this guy's biological child. Why do I feel like this guy's brain is a little hard to use? I'm getting old anyway. In fact, no matter what your status is or what your family background is, when you get old, it will make people bored. Hey, I can see it anyway. From now on, my daughter-in-law will be the master of the house, so I'll just take care of it. Just listen to your daughter-in-law. If you don't know what Li Jianhong said, you would think that Li Jianhong is just an old man from an ordinary family. This is really a little too much. When Sun Zhuang heard this, he also knew that the time was almost up, so he asked, by the way, you always talk about your daughter-in-law. Where is your son? I haven't heard anything about Mr. Li for a long time. How is Mr. Li doing? I'm really worried about him at this time. Li Jianhong didn't expect this guy to do this. But after thinking about it, it's normal. That brat hasn't even appeared yet. There must be a lot of curious people. It is normal for Sun Zhuang to use Sun Ying'er's relationship to inquire about information from his side. Li Jianhong sighed deeply. What do you think? If you can see me here, you may not know me. In fact, I am very lazy. I am not like some people who always think about it. The rights are all in my own hands. I really don't think it's interesting. My brat, I haven't shown any signs of waking up for so long. The key is that I can't show it now. Everyone can see it. When I had a little bit of trouble, they realized, hey, it's really not good for people like us to sit in such a position at such an old age. Sun Zhuang frowned when he heard this. Are you telling the truth? These words directly made Li Jianhong's face change. The moment Li Jianhong's expression changed, the surrounding atmosphere changed. Completely changed. It really made him don't know what to do. Sun Zhuang panicked and wanted to say something, but he really didn't know what to say. In this situation, it really felt like no matter what he said, it would be wrong. But Sun Zhuang didn't dare to say nothing. If he didn't say anything, then Li Jianhong would really misunderstand and even get completely angry. The consequences would be really unimaginable. So Sun Zhuang said, I am really concerned. I have no other ideas. Hey, what other ideas can I have? What so-called ideas do I have? I am really worried. Li Jianhong laughed after Sun Zhuang said this. Ha ha ha, what do you mean by this? Do you really think that I have done something to you? I said so just now. Why do you think so? Could it be that don't you regard me as one of your own? Sun Zhuang quickly waved his hand. No, absolutely not, absolutely not. How could I have such an idea? If I really have such an idea, then I am seeking death. After all, Director Li, although we have not had anything so-called these years intersection, but I still know your ability. How could I be like this? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 1126. Chapter 1126, It's useless to give an explanation. It's good if you can think like this. I'm really anxious. I can't express my anxiety yet. You also know my current situation. No matter what the so-called thoughts are in my heart, I can only endure it. Li Jianhong sighed. Looking like you are encountering some difficulty. Sun Zhuang, hey, I can understand what you mean. I'm not in a good mood either. My company is a little sad now. I really felt that my company was going to be destroyed in my hands. Director Li, I said I'm not afraid of your jokes. Before, I wanted my Ying'er to come and beg you. Please help us. There is still such a thing, why don't you give me a mountain? As far as our current relationship is concerned, if you mention it, then I will definitely help you. Li Jianhong's face changed. Mr. Sun, what happened to you? Well, please tell me carefully, if I can help you. Unexpectedly, Sun Zhuang shook his head. Forget it, these things are almost over, and my company is almost getting better. It can be said that God has blessed me. That's fine. The most important thing for us in business is these gods. What kind of luck? If you are lucky now, your company will definitely get better. Ha ha ha. By then, with our relationship like this, you can let me rely on you. These words really made Sun Zhuang's face look a little ugly. After all, this Li Jianhong really knows how to speak, and he can say almost everything that should be said and what should not be said. In the end, Sun Zhuang could only leave. After Sun Zhuang left, Li Jianhong calmly sat in the cafe, drank coffee, and then dealt with work. Only went to Li Baikan and Sunian's home in the evening. Sun Ying'er happened to be there too. Sun Ying'er's expression changed when she knew that her father had gone to find Li Jianhong. Sister, don't worry, maybe uncle turned around when he was bored. But Sun Ying'er wanted to laugh when she heard this. Others don't know, how could she, as a daughter, not know? Sun Ying'er wanted to laugh, I know. When Li Jianhong saw Sun Ying'er like this, he said seriously, Miss Sun, no, you and my Nian are doing well like this. It's okay for me to call you Ying'er. If that's the case, then I'll call you Ying'er. Ying'er, I think our relationship is good, that's why I say it so directly, No matter what your father thinks, but to me, you are you, your father and even the Sun family behind you are different from you. Do you get me? Sun Ying certainly understands. He also knew that if this were not the case, Li Jianhong would not have come to him directly and said it. I will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. When Sun Ying said this, she bowed heavily in the direction of Li Jianhong. When Li Jianhong saw Sun Ying like this, he quickly said, Ying please stop being like this. I don't mean to cause trouble for you. If I really mind, then I won't say it directly. You'd better not do this too polite. I don't think you need to give an explanation, Sunian said suddenly. Now everyone looked at Sunian. Sunian then said, if my guess is correct, then this is Huo Linyuan's test. He has already made his choice. Sister, it's useless for you to explain this truth, doesn't Sun Ying know? Sun Ying felt angry when she thought about how that man had tried to get her to marry Huo Linyuan. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 1127. Chapter 1127. Strangers are sometimes more reliable than relatives. Things were indeed what Sunian thought. Leave from Li Jianhong. Sun Zhuang immediately went to find Huo Linyuan. And said to Huo Linyuan, Mr. Huo, I really went, but this Li Jianhong is really a bit stubborn. I can't get anything out of Li Jianhong's mouth. Huo Linyuan was not surprised at all by this result. After all, who is Li Jianhong? If it were really that easy to be tricked, then it would be much simpler. It's okay. I also know Li Jianhong's temperament. You can go out. Sun Zhuang wanted to say something. But Huo Linyuan was so direct that Sun Zhuang really didn't know what to do. After all, Huo Linyuan's ability to come and go as soon as he is called upon is really a bit unbearable. Huo Linyuan saw that Sun Zhuang was not leaving and asked, do you have anything else to do? Do you have anything else to do? Huo Linyuan's words really made Sun Zhuang feel that he was one of Huo Linyan's subordinates. Treat it however you want. No matter how dissatisfied Huo Linyuan was in his heart, he could only leave. Wait for Sun Zhuang to return home. I saw Sun Ying who had been waiting for a long time. Sun Zhuang felt a little guilty when he saw Sun Ying. After all, how could he have thoughts of betrayal? He is me, and as me, I know more things than her daughter. And Sun Zhuang felt that it was good for him to do this. If you play both sides in this way, you may be the ultimate winner. When he thought of this, Sun Zhuang's expression became better. What kind of expression are you looking at? Even if you don't go home, why do you still have such an expression? Do you want to rebel now? What do you want to do? I tell you. Sun Ying couldn't help but sneer when she saw her father like this. With such ability, he still participates in so many things. You speak, you girl, speak. What do I say, Dad? What do you want me to say, or what do you want me to say? You won't feel good about anything I say now. Sun Ying paused when she said this. Or are you feeling guilty now, Dad? What have you done to make you feel guilty? Now Sun Ying is no longer the Sun Ying who can only be used by the family to obtain benefits through marriage. Sun Ying now can resist and has the ability to resist. Because Sun Ying knew very clearly that Sunian was behind her, and she had a sister who would always be behind her no matter what she did. Of course Sun Ying will find some things a bit ridiculous. After all, none of your relatives can be relied upon, and in the end you will be someone else, another stranger. What do I feel guilty about? What do I feel guilty about? Ha ha ha, do you know what to say? Your father, what do I feel guilty about? Ha ha ha, are you swearing? Do you know who you are talking to now? I taught you so many things back then, but now I really feel like I've taught you everything. Then what do you mean, Dad? What do you want me to be like? You can teach me well. Do you want me to marry someone now? Will marrying anyone be able to bring some benefits to the Sun family? If you really do, then I really can. If Sun Ying'er had said this before, then her father Sun Zhuang might be particularly happy, even jumping for joy. He wanted to tell the whole world how obedient his daughter was. But now after Sun Ying'er said this, an embarrassed expression appeared on his face. Why is this happening? What else could be the reason? Because now she will get more benefits from not marrying than from marrying. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 1128. Chapter 1128. I didn't let him go. What can you do to me? That's right, it's interest. Sun Ying'er has known since she was a child that although she looks like a so-called lady from a famous family, but in fact, it is just a chess piece. A piece of goods. As long as the price is good, the goods can be sold casually. Now she and Sunian are opening a company. And the company is still rising crazily. If she is married, then the company is likely to have something to do with her husband's family. Her so-called father regards her share of the company as belonging to him. How could his things be contaminated by others? Perhaps Sun Ying'er's gaze was a little too much, which made Sun Zhuang a little uncomfortable. You look at me like this. Dad, you have been saying this repeatedly since you came back. What is your guilty conscience? Do you think it is not good to go to Director Li? Then why did you go to find him? Why on earth are you Huo Lin Yuan? Let you go. I have my plan. You know something, you don't know anything. Sun Zhuang felt a little uncomfortable. Also, how did you talk to me? What was your tone? Sun Ying'er laughed, because the man in front of her now could almost be said to be messing around. It's done, why don't you admit it? At this moment, Sun Zhuang spoke again. Yes, I just went to see Li Jianhong. I have something to do with Li Jianhong. I really didn't expect that Li Jianhong would be so stingy, like a woman. If I tell him something, he started greeting him wildly, as if the whole world wanted to follow him. Sun Ying'er still didn't speak. I have my own reasons for doing this. As a woman, you don't understand anything. What do you have to say? It's true that I don't have any skills, and I really don't understand the so-called. I just want to remind you, Dad, what skills do you have? Think about it for yourself. If you mess around like this, are you really not afraid of setting yourself on fire? When Sun Zhuang heard this, he took a few steps quickly, then walked directly in front of Sun Ying'er, wanting to hit Sun Ying'er. Sun Ying'er had no intention of avoiding him at all, she just looked at him directly. I hate the look in your eyes, don't look at me like that. Then you can dig out my eyeballs. Didn't you just like to threaten me like this when you were little? Then come on. If you are in a bad mood, just come on. Come on. Sun Ying'er's tone now it's getting more and more crazy. But Sun Zhuang had no intention of taking action and could only tremble. Sun Ying'er was not too surprised when she saw her father like this. Dad, why don't you fight? What are you worried about? What do you have to worry about? What do you have to be afraid of? Sun Zhuang's face is almost pale with anger now. It can be seen that I am really angry. Are you worried about Sunian? Are you worried about Sunian behind me? After all, I am the one who comes forward in both my company and Sunian's company. If you really beat me up, Sunian will never give up. Dad, I really didn't expect that one day you would be afraid of a woman. Ha ha ha. Dad is really not afraid that this matter will be laughed at. When Sun Ying'er finished speaking, Sun Zhuang's slap fell. At this moment, Sun Zhuang was really red-eyed. You are so brave now, you dare to say anything, but you don't take me seriously, you evil girl. I didn't let go, what can you do to me? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 1129. Chapter 1129. Sun Ying-er's speculation became reality. I will go to Sunian now and tell my grievances. Haha, Li Baikan's life and death are unknown now, and Sunian has the final say in the entire company. You said that if I go to Sunian to complain now, after all, I will show that I can kill my relatives with justice. What do you think Sunian would do? These words made Sun Zhuang's expression completely change. You can't do this. Why can't I do this? Tell me why I can't do this. Since in your eyes, I am a disobedient daughter, a bastard, and a wicked daughter, so it is logical for me to do this. Sun Zhuang is really angry and his veins are bulging out now. Come on, hit me again now. Come on, hit me well. Come on, teach me a lesson. You'd better beat me to death. If you beat me to death, then there won't be so many something happened. But how dare Sun Zhuang dare to attack Sun Ying-er now? Sun Ying-er's eyes showed nothing but contempt, and then she turned around and walked outside. When Sun Zhuang thought about what Sun Ying-er said just now, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. Then he subconsciously said, "What do you want to do, Sun Ying-er? What are you going to do? Don't forget, your surname is Sunday. If something happens to the Sun family, then you will also be unlucky, and you won't have an easy time." Sun Ying-er laughed after hearing this. What you said is like, what benefits can I get from being in the Sun family? Originally, everything in the Sun family was not mine and I couldn't possibly be tainted by it. But now I have the disadvantages, haha, this world is really unfair. After saying this, Sun Ying-er continued to run out. I don't know if it's bad luck or what. It actually rained at this time. Sun Ying-er had no intention of hiding, but continued walking. Go step by step. Soon the rain wet her clothes. But Sun Ying-er keeps moving forward. Step by step. Has no intention of stopping. I don't know how long I walked. Sun Ying-er felt that she was almost done, so she sat on the side of the road. She is waiting. Etc. The so-called savior. When she thought of this, a trace of ridicule appeared at the corner of Sun Ying-er's mouth. But Sun Ying was also a little curious. I wonder if that person will show up. If he doesn't show up, then his slap and the rain will be in vain. Hey, you must know that although it is raining now, it is easy to catch a cold. Why? Just when Sun Ying-er was complaining in her heart, she suddenly felt that there were no raindrops falling on her head. Sun Ying-er raised her head. Huo Linyuan appeared in her sight. Sun Ying-er really wanted to laugh when she saw Huo Linyuan. That's right, Sun Ying-er's behavior today was intentional. She deliberately provoked her father and was slapped purpose. Sun Ying-er felt that it would be a bit abrupt for her so-called father to go to Li Jianhong, even according to Huo Linyuan's wishes. It is to test what is going on with Li Baikan? There is no special relationship between his father and Li Jianhong. Anyone with a little bit of brains knows that without a particularly good relationship, it is impossible to find out any information at all. How could someone like Huo Linyuan not know this truth? The only explanation is that Huo Linyuan is not like this, but someone else, wants to use other methods, in other words, the most suitable candidate. At this time, Sun Ying-er quickly thought of herself. If the previous events were all Sun Ying-er's guesses, the moment Huo Linyuan appeared, it proved everything. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 1130. Chapter 1130 Huo Linyuan pretending to be a savior. What are you doing here? Huo Linyuan, then why are you here? Sun Ying'er laughed directly when she heard this. She knew that this Huo Linyuan just wanted to pretend to be her savior and then show up. In this case, you can use yourself to get close to Sunian. The dignified Huo Linyuan. The man who could never look back at him no matter what he did, was now plotting against him, scheming to appear in front of him. Now actually, Sun Ying'er really wants to ask this Huo Linyuan, did he think that such a day would happen before? Let me take you away. Huo Linyuan stretched out his hand to pull the person up. But before Huo Linyuan's hand touched Sun Ying'er, she dodged away. What do you mean, you want to be my savior? Ha ha ha, do you think I am a little girl? With such methods, I can still do you believe it. The reason why Sun Ying'er behaved like this was simply to follow Huo Linyuan and to know what this guy wanted to do in his heart. But after all, Sun Ying'er had been by Huo Linyuan's side for so many years. Of course she knew that if she was really honest, even if he pounces directly on Huo Linyuan when he appears, then this Huo Linyuan will definitely not believe it. He must show resistance, and show resistance, then this Huo Linyuan will not doubt it. That's right, this man is so mean. And Sun Ying'er also wanted to make this pay the price. Ying'er, it's raining heavily now. Your body won't be able to bear it like this. I don't know what happened to you, but I know that nothing is more important than your body. If something happens to your body again, then it's not good. My body has nothing to do with you, Huo Linyuan. When did you become so careless and nosy? Is it interesting that you are so troubled? Huo Linyuan frowned tightly. Ying'er, how are you feeling now? I can understand, I really can understand, but your body is the most important. Your body really can't bear such heavy rain. If something happens to your body, what should you do? I know you must feel uncomfortable. Sun Ying'er slapped Huo Linyuan directly. Sun Ying'er's mood was unknown when she slapped this guy. Nearly laughed. Ha 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 ha, I finally beat this guy. However, Sun Ying'er still has some ability and restrains her emotions. Huo Linyuan in front of him didn't expect Sun Ying'er to hit him at all, which was a bit incredible. After all, in Huo Linyuan's eyes, this Sun Ying'er is the kind of person who will definitely be particularly happy, almost overjoyed, as long as he looks back and treats her a little better. But now this is Sun Ying'er. Huo Linyuan was still a little angry in his heart. But Huo Linyuan thought of his own purpose, so no matter how angry he was, he had to control it. Then he said, if you want to hit me, I can do whatever you want, but now can you just listen to me and let me take you to a safe place? It's really too dangerous for you to be in this place now, Sun Ying'er, you really don't want to be like this. I don't want this, why can't I do this? Who are you? Why are you pointing fingers at me like this? Who do you think you are? End of this chapter.